All right, we're going to go over some of the procedures, so frequencies, descriptives, and examine, to show you what some of that output looks like, and you know how you can calculate a few of the things. So I'm going to first start by reading in some data, and what this is oops, come over here, just some fake data, and it's got an ID, it's got a string variable called pet, it's got miles, and you can interpret that however you want, and it's got an anxiety score that caps at 15. So if you get a 15, you have really high anxiety, and that's the highest it'll go. And if you have 0, then I suppose that you have no anxiety. And so to start out, we can run a frequencies variables command on the pet column. So remember, that's our string column there. And so when we run it, what will pop up, or it might like hide down on your toolbar, is the output window. And so this is where commands that produce output are going to put their output. So you can see here it says, okay, hey, you just ran a frequencies command, and these are the things that are just going to be by default presented to you because we did not request any specific things. Like we didn't have any subcommands associated with that. And so we see here's, kind of first, this is how many valid cases we have. So we have 25 valid cases, and we have 0, I don't want to double click, we have 0 missing values. And so we'll go into this missing category in like the next chapter, but all of our data is valid, so that's cool. And we see, okay, here's our 3 different responses. So we see there's a response bird and cat and dog. And the frequency with which they appear, the percentage of that data set that they make up, the valid percent. And so since we don't have any missing data, these are the same. If we would have had missing data, these would not be equal. And then the cumulative percent, which is just another way of looking at that. If, let's see, we had, oops, not that, this. So if we had this instead, so notice how, I changed the capitalization on this particular one here. If we were to rerun this, so we run it again, we get it here. Notice that nothing changed here. That's still considered a valid response. There's still nothing missing, but now see how that's treated as a separate response. So it's saying, hey, you have 1 response with lowercase c cat and 8 responses with uppercase c cat. And this is one of those things, where we're talking about free response versus selected response. And, when you're gathering your data considerations to make, those would be treated as 2 different things, even though they're not. They're the same, category. So let's go back and change that. Come on. There we go. So we don't mess ourselves up in the future. All right. Another one of our procedures is the descriptives variables. So what we're looking at here is, what we can get by just default. So if we do that, and it says, hey, you asked for descriptives. Yes, we did. Thank you very much. And here it provides a little table, and it has in, so our number of values. And again, we're just looking at the miles category here. And so if we would have asked for more variables, it would list it here. And it also says this is how many are valid. This is the lowest, this is the highest, the mean, and the standard deviation. The fun thing with descriptives is we can also ask for a z-score. So if we just do it like this, so here we're asking for descriptives on miles and on anxiety. And since I added this right here, I'm saying, hey, I'd like you to create a z-score for anxiety. And so if we run this, first we can see our output here. And we see now that we have these 2 rows, one for miles, one for anxiety. We see that they're all valid. Min, max, mean, standard deviation. But we asked for that z-score. Where did that z-score go? Well, if we come back over here to our data table, we see we have a new variable that we asked for. So we named it z underscore anxiety, and it just calculates that z-score for us from the anxiety column. So that's a nice little trick. We can also look at examine variables, and remember this has a lot more output, and we can't really say what we do and don't want it to show, at least as far as the statistics are concerned. But if we print that out, we get, oh, come on now. Run, please. And this one might take a while to show up. So that took a second to show up there. But what we're seeing is, here's the summary. Again, we'd asked for miles and anxiety. So we see our N, valid percent, how many are missing, and so the total percent. Here's all of our descriptive statistics. So here it is for miles. Here it is for anxiety. Then we also see that we have a stem and leaf plot. And so what's nice about this is we can see, do we really have any outliers? And so here's, this, and we say, oh, hey, there's this one value that's like way up here and another one even further up. And what it does is it tells us the ID number. So we can see that ID number 11 and number 23, or the case number, are, these univariate outliers. Perhaps we might want to, consider what we do with them. Here's the stem and leaf plot for anxiety scores, and then no outliers that we can really see here. So that is what you would get for the examine output. It's an awful lot, and it does take, a hot second to pop up. So, you might want to be a little bit patient with that one. What we can also do is ask for an in plot, so look at normality. By doing this, since I haven't specified that I would like a stem and leaf plot, it's not going to give me one. But we'll go ahead and run this. Oh, in p plot. It would help if I spell things correctly. There we go. We'll do that. There we go. And that one popped up relatively fast this time. So we're only doing anxiety. Here's the descriptives again. They're the same as above. Here's our test of normality. So this is actually a inferential test of normality if it's normal or not. And we can see this plot as well. And, we'd like these dots to line up pretty well on this solid line. They're fairly close. These wouldn't necessarily give me heartburn. Here's the detrended plot. And, so testing for normality.